Thank you, Roland. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. My name is Isha, and I'm here to introduce you to a novel and desperately essential field of public health called media epidemiology. But before we get into the meat and potatoes, literally, I wanted to give you a little bit of background. First of all, once again, my name is Isha. I have a Bachelor of Science in Media and Public Health with a little bit of education in chemistry from New York University. And I am currently an MPH candidate, a first year MPH candidate here at Dartmouth. So the term media epidemiology doesn't quite exist yet. So I think a bit of context is necessary. I own a magazine, Cabin Fever magazine, and it's our mission to provide eccentric public health journalism. We present public health to the world in an
Recording has
unorthodox.
stopped. You're good.
Okay. We present public health to the world in an unorthodox manner, fitting ourselves into contemporary culture in an effort to resist misinformation. So last August, I published an article in Cabin Fever titled An Introduction to Media Epidemiology. And you can see there that it was posted on August 12th, which was the exact day that I turned in my very last assignment at NYU. And to me, that equates graduation. And so it was my informal thesis, a culmination of everything I learned as a co-major in media and public health, while also being a pre-med student, an EMT, and a lifelong enthusiast of medicine. And from here, we suddenly end up back at the NYU Steinhardt School of Culture, Education, and Human Development over on Green Street in Manhattan, where this article was accepted and as required reading for students in a core curriculum course. And this was pretty much a launch pad because all of a sudden this concept had institutional backing. And it finally ended up in a very important conversation here at Dartmouth, where it was decided that this article would serve as the foundation for a media epidemiology lab or research hub right here at Dartmouth. We're going to get more on that later. So we're going to start with a simulation. We are all Theo, short for Theodore Geisel, of course. That's our Instagram handle, and we have 1,059 followers and 533 people that we follow. And we post this picture of a nice dinner we have in Midtown Manhattan, or perhaps Pine, a gourmet burger, crispy fries, and a martini with very large olives in it. Perhaps this image is even AI. I think that would make it even better. We've centered our meal in the frame. We followed the rule of thirds. Our photography skills are fantastic. That's very important because visuals mean everything. And then we caption it this 100% real food, 0% seed oils. And this indicates cooking food in seed oils renders it fake. And if food is fake, it's probably not very healthy for you, is it? And then we make matters much worse by adding this terrifying hashtag. We associate ourselves with the MAHA or Make America Healthy Again movement. But does this matter? I mean, there's millions of people out on social media posting things every minute of the day. What makes us special? First of all, these four people reposted our image. Sourdough Girly, Adam Goes to the Gym, 9 to 5 Warriors, and 6 7 times 5. Not saying it 5 times. These four individuals are very powerful. They're the nodes of our network. So we right now are part of a network that follows a power law degree distribution, as do most social networks. A power law degree distribution is known for having a few nodes that are abundant, that have abundant connections, also known as being high connectivity, and then many smaller nodes that are of lower degree and have less connections. That means these high connectivity nodes can easily control the activity of those smaller low connectivity nodes. These four accounts are high connectivity nodes. And they're connected to each other, but not entirely. For example, Sourdough Girly here has no interest in following 6 7 times 5, and it seems the latter feels the same way. And that's a good thing. Network science, particularly the contagion model, which is used to explain infectious disease outbreaks, so some of you might be familiar with that, it claims that a network shouldn't have too little or too many connections. If everyone knows each other, there's nothing new to share. If no one knows each other, then the ideas aren't extending beyond the individual. This is just right. And then these accounts are also connected to others, many, many others. Some of these other connections may also be fellow high connectivity nodes. So essentially, our post about the burger and fries on seed oils becomes a trend, pushing consumers to recreate our meal, replace seed oils with beef tallow, and develop atherosclerosis down the line. And we're the index case of that, aka patient zero, although we'll save that term for the articles and op-eds, not public health classrooms. So there are a few mathematical, rather network science concepts that I think are worth going over. Do not log off, please. Stay with me for this. We have the epidemic spreading threshold here, where lambda c over to the left is the critical transmission threshold. To put it simply, the lower the threshold, the easier things spread. Variable k is the degree or the number of connections a node has. K squared is called the second moment of degree distribution. And when you square it, it massively amplifies your connections, therefore representing high degree nodes like our dear sourdough girly and Adam goes to the gym. In power law degree distributions like the one we're in right now, k squared can increase very rapidly. And when that happens, lambda c, because they're reciprocal, lambda c can drop to nearly zero. That means information can spread like wildfire because the threshold has lowered. This one looks even more frightening, at least it does to me. I'm not a math person except when it comes to network science and chemistry, of course, but once again, bear with me. Pi of ki over to the left is the probability that a new node will connect to node I. You can see that it's proportional to the degree of node I, meaning that if that node is already a high connectivity node, the probability of new people following that account increases. So if you're popular, you're just going to get more popular. If you're rich, you're going to get richer. And that's true because a lot of these accounts can actually monetize their following and get money out of social media. And this is dangerous if these are accounts that are spreading health misinformation, and the harsh reality is that they typically do. So that scenario may have been hyperbolic with the atherosclerosis down the line and all that, but it's also rooted in network science. Ideas like vaccine hesitancy, drinking unpasteurized milk, and yes, consuming beef tallow or canola oil, very real, they spread in a manner similar to what I just described, if not exactly. And we can't forget that all of the action took place on social media. Surely this new discipline of public health must be a mix of network science and social media then. Not exactly, because it's also all of these. It's a bit of political science, it's a bit of performance art, it's certainly a lot of psychology. If anything, media takes advantage of the human psyche to keep you addicted and sell you things you never needed. It's also all of these. That atherosclerosis may lead to subsequent heart disease, and all of a sudden you're at a cardiovascular surgeon's office. The sudden boom of anti-vax influencers might have something to do with political interest, because a citizenry that is uneducated and ill is easier to control in a fascist state. Your data privacy is almost always at risk when you're online. That's how the algorithm knows what to sell you. When you have so many different fields coming together for a single conversation, you're going to need a bigger room. Terms like health communications, digital epidemiology, which truly isn't the same thing, and infodemiology, they don't quite encompass everything you see here, nor is everything you see here the entire picture. Media is ubiquitous, but so is public health. So what do you do with two fields that you can find anywhere as long as you look hard enough in the modern world? You end up getting a super discipline, a field that fosters a single conversation on media and health from various points of view. And so I introduce you finally to media epidemiology, the study of the impact of media consumption and production on population health outcomes. And now that we know what it is, we should probably do this the right way. With bright colors that catch the eye and aesthetic textual placement and aesthetic pixelated stethoscopes over on the corner, we accomplish what media epidemiology would suggest. We also do not mention that we're from nice schools like NYU and Dartmouth, because past work in media and current social trends show that educational attainment is no longer an asset when communicating to the public. There's two ways to put these two together. With media epidemiology, we can understand media as an exposure in the epidemiological network, but we can also apply the epidemiological concepts to media. Either we figure out exactly how misinformation leads to measles outbreaks, or we use the same model that we used to track measles to better our communications to reach a larger audience, which we did earlier. We looked at that same model, but we didn't use it. These are two sides of the same coin. And frankly, it's the latter that we're missing, the fact that we're not using this model. We have research on how misinformation leads to poor health outcomes, but we're not acting on it quick enough. If we know what makes misinformation work, why aren't we trying to mimic it? There's a lot of issues. First of all, we have terrible attention spans. For those of you who watched the Oscars this year, the host Conan O'Brien at one point turned to the camera and spewed internet brain rot while half of the screen was covered by a clip of the game Subway Surfers as it is here to the right. This was a reference to a common trend online where videos with important information on geopolitics, reproductive rights, vaccines, and everything in between are accompanied by a clip of someone playing Subway Surfers. Because people are having a really hard time paying attention to an informational video longer than 5 seconds if there isn't a source of stimulation readily available. On top of that, we're very loyal to what we've always done. Health communications is difficult to change because there's a good evidence-based way to do it. Except media attention and public opinion change quicker than evidence that's released via an academic article that took a year to publish. What we're doing is arguably not working. If it was, our federal dietary guidelines would not currently state that we should be cooking our food in beef tallow. Remember, we're patient zero for that. This is also directly connected with funding, as most things are. Research doesn't get funded, new initiatives don't get funded, and we don't move forward. And last but not least, media moves very fast. And I frankly think disinformation bots are the most terrifying actors of our current media sphere. Either someone's deploying bots or they're making a ton of accounts themselves to spread disinformation about politics, health, culture, and everything else under the moon. What's worse is that they also do it from other countries. Veles, a town in North Macedonia, was a Facebook disinformation hub during the 2016 US presidential election. It's difficult to study misinformation and try to implement its ways when misinformation itself metamorphoses every single day and spawns from across oceans. In order to do that, we'd have to be studying media as it relates to health with more rigor and attention than we are right now. And we can do that. That's what's so special about this, that if we give a name to what we're doing, we can get funding, we can be taken seriously, and we can do this with the rigor and attention it deserves in our current socio-political climate. These are six out of an innumerable amounts of topics that constitute media epidemiology. I do want to draw attention to the state-sponsored influencers over to the right, because that is a real thing, believe it or not. RFK Jr. recruited mom influencers from TikTok, named them Maha Moms, and got them to do some grassroots misinformation spreading on his behalf. And it's genius, I hate to say it, but it is. He used the community, specifically a community of women who are very concerned for their children's health, to build trust around an idea that is essentially baseless in science and rooted in conspiracy. Why aren't we doing this? But since we're committed to our evidence-based ways, which is exactly what makes us more reliable than a wellness influencer on YouTube Reels, we can simply turn these topics into studies. Like that. Those are fake Dartmouth IRB codes, but they could be very real if we were to start working on some research questions and IRB proposals. Research is undeniably key to credibility because it must be ethical, it must be reproducible, and it must present the facts as they are in order for any conclusions to be deemed valid. We must research media epidemiology. John Snow, the father of modern epidemiology, did exactly that. He started by doing research on a pump. I am currently working on launching a lab, or rather a research hub at Dartmouth that does exactly this. I am working with Dr. Manish Mishra and Dorcia Tucker, my favorite second-year hybrid MPH student. Both of them are on this call. We want to provide a home for these ideas, a place that rigorously investigates and educates on media epidemiology. Of course, Dartmouth is a place for troublemakers, so I get to have a lot of fun with this. And if we don't do research, we can at least act. While we do research, we can create. Cabin Fever magazine is an example of that. It's my personal effort to reinvent the way we communicate public health. I've personally studied both media theory and public health in great depth, and I am now applying what I've learned to tailor public health communications to the modern media climate. Cabin Fever confidently sits next to fashion magazines at magazine shops in New York City with bright, unassuming covers that don't look anything like public health at all. Studying RFK Jr.'s misinformation tactics, Russian disinformation, and visual culture has taught me that misinformation is relatable, beautiful, and outrageous. Cabin Fever magazine tries to be all of those things while also being scientifically accurate and culturally competent. We design the interiors with a careful focus on visual culture concepts such as the gaze, color grading, and even surveillance concepts such as Michel Foucault's panopticon. We also try to have fun with it. If misinformation is showing up in the form of mood boards or image collages with raw milk snuck into the corner, then we can do the same with safe pasteurized milk. Why not? If we don't become relatable, beautiful, and outrageous ourselves, we will not win against misinformation. We won't win against algorithms. And lastly, we can do some reading. I had to do lots and lots of reading as an undergrad. I'm sure many of us did, but boy, was I not ready for the amount of reading my media professors made me do. I really recommend the first book, Amusing Ourselves to Death by Neil Postman, as a starting point on media theory. Media theory can get very dense, and all of a sudden you're drowning in a viscous pool about semiotics, and French flânery culture. But in order to make sure that doesn't happen, I'd start with this book. Neil Postman actually invented my major at NYU, so his work is integral to understanding modern media. Second book called Cultural Sutures. It's a collection of essays and it's edited by Lester Friedman. This was published the same year as I was born. So it's 22 years behind on the impact of the internet on medicine. But it's great for understanding how these really heavy concepts on media and visual culture impact clinical medicine. And don't forget, television, radio, and books, they aren't out of style quite yet. So we do need to focus on them, not just social media. And I shamelessly recommend my article. At the end of the day, it's the foundational piece on media epidemiology. It is available to read on Medium. You can probably Google it or visit Cabin Fever Magazine's website to find it. And I've been asked a few times exactly what my plan is with media epidemiology. And I'll admit it took me a while to really get to the bottom of it. There's so much to fix. Sometimes it's overwhelming to decide exactly what it is you want to focus your efforts on. But then I realized that media is upstream of upstream. While policy impacts the amount of beds available in your local ER, policy is impacted by politicians who aren't elected because of public need, not because of skill. They're always elected because of a deceptively good campaign, which usually involves media. And so, by establishing a brand new discipline of public health, I hope to investigate the impact of media on health as rigorously as we do other well-established exposures. And when, not if, when we do this successfully, I would hope we live in a world where public health has successfully outnumbered misinformation due to its superior communication style. Once again, for the third time, my name is Isha. I suppose you can say I'm a media epidemiologist in progress because I don't have that MPH quite yet. You can contact me at my Dartmouth email, and I would really love if you guys could take a look at Cabin Fever. She's trying her best at fighting all the big bad health misinformation out there in the world. And if you're feeling anything like the emoji off to the left, please feel free to ask questions or provide comments. I'm going to stop sharing now. Thank you so much for having me. But if you guys ever want me to, pull up a specific slide, I can do that later. Thank you.